you're out in the mountains kind of working hard, I don't know, like all your emotions are like really just right beneath the surface then. Is something that keeps me like very grounded in my like emotional life, you know? Kind of in touch with how I'm feeling at my core, I guess. I've seen a rattlesnake here before.
Did you?
Yeah. I was out for a run. I grew up in Niobrara, Nebraska, which is a very small village of 350 people, very rural part of the country. I grew up on a farm. That's probably been the biggest impact of my life, is growing up close to the land on my family's farm. Because it gave me this outlet to be really active as a young kid. You know, I was always in the forest, like building forts, building trails. I wanted to be a mountain man, which was kind of like Jim Bridgers, this iconic mountain man here in the United States, but he was like a fur trapper. It was mostly, I think, my parents instilling in myself and my two sisters the values of appreciating the land, and the land has inherent value, the natural world has inherent value, and living close to it. And that came about through living a pretty self-sufficient lifestyle. We're definitely trying to be self-sufficient and self-reliant and having a low impact on the world, really. And that's something that's, I think, continues to influence me to this day. I just think you have to have some kind of intention with your day every day. I mean, I have an injury right now, but I like always have an injury. I was running yesterday down from the Flatirons, just like down Wichita, and I was just like, God, like my muscles just don't do this right now. Ugh. But when I broke my leg 5 years ago, that was when the major shift occurred. That's when I shifted from being completely and like monomaniacally focused on just running. You know, I was running 200 miles a week. I just like had my best season ever, like with Western States and White River, and I was, kind of on the top of it all. But then I broke my leg in 2011, and I was forced to think about like, what can I do that still satisfies my need to like get outside every day, but isn't quite as abusive as running is. Ugh. That's okay. Then I kind of reconnected with climbing. It's something I'd done for previously in college. Started doing a lot of that, scrambling in the Flatirons. And then, last year, I started biking, and skiing became a big thing a couple of years ago for me too. And these all grew out of like not being able to run, but they've really like enriched my life. Like, whenever you're just one-dimensional in something, sure, you get really good at that, but it's also, it becomes uninteresting at some point. Curiosity is a key part of having a rich life. One that's where you're like challenging yourself and growing as a person, and not just staying stagnant or stuck at a certain level, I guess. being in the mountains has been the venue for my curiosity of like what I'm capable of in the mountains, what I can do, the experiences I can have there, the emotions you can have there. And I just think it's essential to always kind of be trying to learn new things, try new things, question, not just assume, make assumptions about the world, but instead like go and have your own experience and then draw your own conclusions. And that's really like what my entire career as any kind of mountain athlete has been, you know, is just trying new things and being inspired by something and wondering if I'm capable of doing that, you know, and then giving it a shot. Man, waking up at 5:15 a.m. to run 12 miles, 13 years, not even, I'm 12 years old. This is the inside cover of the very first log, and I guess I wrote in here this little like chart of why I love running from 1995. If very early on I was like making like training plans, kind of crazy. And then the first entry is April 12th, 1995. Warm, sunny with moderate wind. I ran 2 miles. I started running, I think it was in the 5th grade. We had a PE class, physical education, and every spring we would do a 1-mile time trial, just as part of the class. And I think in the 5th grade, I won, and I won most years, but in the 5th grade I decided, okay, this year I'm going to train for it by running 1 mile per day like the month before the test, you know? And I just never stopped. Something about running really fit my personality in that I'm pretty introverted, so I'm fine like spending a lot of time alone. Which running lends itself to. But also, I really, from the very beginning, I was drawn to the fact that if you just like worked really hard, if you ran a lot, you're going to improve, you're going to get better, and you're going to have success. Running is just kind of a structure of like how to live your life, you know, and so it's going to affect every aspect of your life, spiritual, social, emotional, physical, mental. I'm surprised that I was kind of aware of that early on, I guess. But I think it is just a testament to like how deep into the activity I was from the very beginning. You know, it was something that resonated with me a lot early on. When you're in that early teenage years, that's just like your whole world. All you want to do is belong to something, you know, somehow. And it just got to where like, I don't know, I feel like, I was like, well, I just don't really identify with the people that, you know, my peers. So I'm just gonna do my own thing, and this is who I am, and that thing was running, and like I just threw myself into it, you know. And I definitely drew like an identity and confidence from that kind of obsession, really. Oh, there we are, July 20th, 96. This is my entry for mileage 26.5. I must have ran like a 1/4 mile warm up or something. I got up at 4:50 a.m. and Dad and I broke camp. We drove 15 minutes to Pikes Point where it all started. It was awesome. I got number 1 because I was the only one in my age group. I was 12. I stretched while an old man played the bagpipes. It's crazy stuff, man. I lined up in about the 4th line of 65 people, very small race. I ran easily at about 9:15 pace through 13 miles. Talked to a lot of neat people along the way. It was fun meeting runners. I eventually sped up and passed a lot of people from 13 to 22 miles. And then came the wall at about 23 miles. Yeah, hamstrings and calves, very painful. Worst pain I've ever felt. It was very hard. I probably walked about 400 meters altogether, so I must have walked a little bit. For me, especially over the last 5 years, it's really expanded beyond just running, and it's more of just kind of like moving your body in the mountains. Scrambling, there's two things. It's your entire body. You're fully engaged, all four limbs, one, and then two, there's consequence. And that heightens the experience. And it's not an adrenaline thing, it's just like, it's a requirement that you're like focused and present in the moment and you can't just space out. I don't know, thinking about other things than what you're doing right in the moment. But with scrambling, because of the consequence, because of the terrain you're on, you have to be completely present in the moment when you're doing it. Being present is sort of this cliche thing, but it's a pretty meaningful experience, or it seems like a meaningful experience when it's happening.
It's like, couldn't do it for the first half. Well, I'll protect that traverse for you. And the bro I was climbing with was wearing Futuras, and I was like, oh man, I know what those feel like. I climbed those all summer.
A rich life for me, it involves feeling like I have a purpose every day. For me, that means being out in the mountains and having, I mean, I hesitate to use the word intense, but having experiences that kind of affirm your existence, you know, where they like wake you up and realize that like you're living life, you know, you're not just sort of coasting through life, but you're challenging yourself, you're feeling emotions, you're having new experiences. Those things comprise a rich life for me, and that's definitely my motivation on a daily basis for spending a lot of time outside, moving in the mountains, really.